In this video, I'm going to show you a simple but powerful automation that will allow you to generate full email broadcasts directly from a Google Sheet. All you'll have to do is enter in a newsletter topic into a Google Sheet, and this automation will pick those up. It will use Perplexity's deep research to research facts and insights for the article, as well as a fantastic Claude 3.7 Sonnet to generate compelling text for the newsletter. This automation will create correctly formatted newsletters and send it directly to Kit, formerly known as ConvertKit. But this approach will work for any email service provider that gives you API access and allows you to send HTML directly via their API. On our main channel, Daniel has created some fantastic email newsletter automations that are quite a bit more advanced than this, such as this 7+ AI agent team that performs lots of different functions, as well as this MailChimp and Make.com newsletter that's far more structured than the current process I'm about to go through. However, the benefit of the automation I'm going to explain is that it's pretty simple to get up and running, and this approach will work for lots of different niches and industries and different content formats, so you can get up and running quickly and adjust this to your needs as quickly as possible. I'm going to be explaining how to build this automation, but if you want to download the blueprints and get started very quickly, then check out the link in the description to our community, where you'll get access to this, as well as an N8N version of this same blueprint, and you'll learn how to customize them to your business. Let's start from the start. I have a simple Google Sheet set up here. For the statuses, I've gone to data and data validation, and on the right-hand side, I've just selected drop down and added in a bunch of different statuses. So the initial statuses here are not started, ready to generate, and newsletter generated. So what we'll do is enter in a newsletter topic. We want the system to pick any of them up where the status is ready to generate, and then run the automation from there. So we'll add in this initial newsletter topic of how to rank on Google AI overviews. Now we'll go into the scenario, go to Google Sheets, and in this case, we're going to select search rows, so we're not using the watch rows function. I have my connection already set up here. If you do not have a connection, go to add, press sign in with Google, and then follow the steps from there. You'll need to select your Google account and then give it access. So I've selected my connection. For search method, the easiest one to use is select from my drive. I've selected blueprint, so that's the one I'm going to select here. And then sheet 1 is the first sheet. It's the only sheet here. Table contains headers. Now for filter, we want to select status. So it's pretty cool. As you see here, all of these first row headings are already showing up within this, which is fantastic. So we want to only return where the status is equal to ready to generate. So I'm just going to copy that out and paste it right in there. And then we're not going to add in a limit for here. So we'll press save and then we're good. Now I'll press save and run once. You can also set up instant triggers. So this triggers automatically once you change the status. We have other videos on our channel for that as well. I've selected run once here, and now we have a response. So we have the newsletter topic as well as the status. So all is looking good there. Next up, we're going to connect to Perplexity, which is a fantastic service where you can create a chat completion similar to if you were calling OpenAI or Claude, except Perplexity has live access to the web. So it can do a lot. You can perform deep research, for example, and that's what we're going to do here. So I've selected create a chat completion, and the model we're going to use is Sonnet deep research. If you do not have a Perplexity connection set up, then go to add, and then you'll need to paste in an API key. So you need to set up an account with Perplexity and go to their API section, generate an API key, and then copy and paste out that key and then paste it into there. And press save. I'm going to start with a system prompt. So the system prompt is going to give it overall context of what we wanted to do. The initial system prompt we have here is you will create a summary of facts, figures, and information to include for an email newsletter. Do not respond with introductory text. Do not number the headings. Then select add item and then user role. So that's what we're going to want it to do within this particular call. And I've added in a detailed enough prompt here, which is that the topic is the following. Create a summary of facts, figures, and information to include for an email newsletter. And we're going to select the newsletter topic. So because we've already set this module up and we've run the module, we can see that the fields are showing up within this context menu here, which is fantastic. So I've selected the newsletter topic, which is great. Now we're saying to be detailed. Each section should have the following: headings, key points, data, information. So you can pause the video from there. We're just providing it with more context of what we wanted to do, provide facts, figures, and statistics, and whatever else is required. That's all that's required there. Press save. Now, deep research takes a bit of time to respond, so I'm going to add in a text parser that I always add in when I'm calling deep research. And this is, go to text parser, and we're going to select match pattern and simply just paste in this pattern. Regex is really complicated. A lot of developers still do not even understand how it works really. So just copy and paste in this pattern. What this is doing is it's going to remove a certain part of the response that Perplexity's deep research always responds with. It always responds with its chain of thought, which is great, but it's not what we need for our automation. So I'm going to add this in first. When I run the automation, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to press save, and we're going to select the choices, message, and then content. So that's the content from the Perplexity deep research call. So I'll press save anyway again. Now press run once. I come up with a message there saying that a transformer route should not be the last node or should not be the last module within your flow. That's fine if you're only testing it. So I've just pressed run once. Now it's calling the deep research feature of Perplexity for this particular topic. We're going to wait for a response from that, and then we're going to parse that afterwards, and you'll see what we're doing. Okay, we've got a response from Perplexity. If we go to choices, go down to the first message, content, okay, you see a big response. We have the think tag at the very start, which we do not want. But if we go down there and look at everything past that tag, we see the response. So we see the content quality, expertise, elaboration. So that's its findings, its research findings after searching a lot of different sources. So that's pretty good. Then within this text parser, if you go to the bubble icon and expand out this variable here, then you'll see that it has responded with all of the text that we want. So it has removed that initial chain of thought tag at the very start. Okay, this is looking good. Next up, we're going to pass this into a language model. We're going to use Claude because a lot of people in our community really like the tone and language output of Claude out of the box. It doesn't sound as robotic as a lot of the other language models. We're going to type Claude, and we see Anthropic Claude shows up there. We're going to select create a prompt. Now you need to add an Anthropic connection. So go to add, and then you select your API key. If you do not have an account, go to anthropic.com, set up an account, add in some initial credit, and under API keys, create a new API key and copy out the key for that directly into here, and then press save. For the model, we're going to select Claude 3.7 Sonnet. For max tokens, you can put that pretty high. We're going to leave that at 7,000 for the moment. You can leave that higher if you want. For messages, I'm going to start with a user message here, and then add in content, and then type will be text. Now this is the prompt I'm going to use for this. You are a talented email copywriter for a smart but busy audience. You're writing an email newsletter on the following topic. Now we need to go down to the context menu on the right here and select the newsletter topic from the Google Sheet. And then we have very specific instructions for what we want and how we want Claude to output the text. Now you can customize and change this around as much as you want for your specific use case. So we're saying initially here, start with a bold hook, something unexpected, curious, or emotional that grabs attention. The first paragraph tag should only include one line. Bold the line with a B tag. So if you look at our example of this, you see that this initially has one bolded line at the start, which is exactly what we're looking for. Now there's a lot in this prompt. You can pause the video as we're going through it, but I'm asking it to adapt the format based on the type of research or based on the type of newsletter that we're going for. So if it's news or trends, summarize the most important updates, give quick context. If it's a tutorial or how-to, break down the key actionable steps. If it's a roundup, if it's opinion-based, if it's data-heavy or research-driven, or if it's a story or case study. And again, expand these out as much as you want. So keep the tone friendly, human, and slightly playful, like you're chatting with a clever friend. Use short paragraphs and subheadings so it's easy to skim. That's really important for email newsletters. End with a clear takeaway or single action readers can feel good about. Now, here are some really important parts. You must start your response with the P tag. So this is the HTML tag that we're going to send to Kit or ConvertKit or whatever other email service provider you're using. ConvertKit, for example, is expecting HTML content when we're sending the broadcast email content. So within this, we need to make sure it's in that format. If we send Markdown, it's probably not going to show up properly. So we're saying you must start your response with the P tag, start with the email content, do not include the email subject or description, do not use inline CSS, headings should use H2 tags, use natural human language, avoid being overly formal, feel free to be clever or playful. So end the email with thanks for reading, so that can be your sign off, change that however you want. Then within the research input, we need to select the text parser value here. And that's the value that we had from the text parser over here. which is the Perplexity deep research output without the initial chain of thought part at the start of the response. At the very end, I'm asking to write the body of the email into HTML format. Do not include a subject line or any explanation. Start your response with a p tag and include only the HTML of the email body. Now you'll see here we're using these XML tags, and that's pretty important for Claude. It's the optimal way to prompt Anthropic Claude. It's what they used when they were training, is these kind of XML tags. So we have these angled brackets as well as the name of the data item that you're using, and then close it off at the end. After that, we're going to add in a little trick, which is called response pre-filling. We have another video about that, which you can check out in the description. But this is really important to get a consistent response from Claude. If you use an OpenAI, for example, it's pretty easy to get it to respond in JSON mode. Whereas with Claude, if you use response pre-filling, you can effectively start its response for it, and then it needs to continue it from there. I'll explain how that works here. We're defining an assistant role, and we've said here already we wanted to start with a p tag, and that's a paragraph tag in HTML. So we're going to start the response with a p tag. We're saying to Claude, this is how your response is starting, and then it will continue from there. So this keeps it on track, and it's very unlikely to respond with, here is your email broadcast, because you really do not want that. Now we press save. Okay, we're getting somewhere now. I'm going to click run once again. It's going to pick up this newsletter topic again because we have not yet set the automation to change the statuses within this field. So every time we run this, it's going to keep generating the data. It's responded with its deep research response, which is good. Okay, we have a response from Claude as well. Let's go to the text response. Perfect. This is looking pretty good. For the moment, I'm going to go to Perplexity, and instead of using deep research, I'm going to just use a Sonar model because it's cheaper and much faster to run. So it would just easier for me to build out the scenario as we're going along. And then once we're happy with the connection with ConvertKit and the other modules that we need to do, then we'll move this back to deep research and do some better testing with that. Next up, we're going to test the ConvertKit integration. So I'll go and type ConvertKit and press show more. Now I'm scrolling down through this, and within this, there's no default out of the box method to generate broadcasts from the module within Make. You would have to make an API call, and there may be issues with the versions of ConvertKit and what this module is able to support. I'm going to use a HTTP module for this, and I'm going to select make a request and add in this URL of api.kit.com/v4/broadcasts. The method for this is going to be post. To get your Kit API key, go to kit.com. At the very top right, select your profile name and select settings. Then on the left-hand side, go to developer. And then under the API keys, under v4 keys, select add a new key and copy and paste out your API key into the scenario. In this, we're going to just pass this straight into this header. So the header name is going to be x-kit-api-key. I'm going to copy in the API key here, and then I'm going to revoke that key when this video is published. All right, for body type, we're going to select raw. Content type is application JSON. Then under request content, it needs to be in this format. So we need to provide an email template ID, content, description, if it's public or not, the preview text, and the subject. So to start with, we need to go into Kit and go to send and email templates. Now I've created an email template within Kit here. It's very easy to do it. To create a new email template, just select new email template at the top right. I'm going into this template I created separately. At the very end, I added this product within it. So this is a pretty cool call to action that you can have automatically for any of these emails that you create. So go to earn at the top, go to products, and then create a new product, and then select that on the right-hand side, and then this automatically gets added to the very end of every single email. Now, once we have this email template set up, we need to get the ID of the template. It's not as easy to identify this from within Kit's interface. There are two ways of doing it, so just choose whichever one you want. Go to right-click, you can go view page source, and then template layout, template ID. Oh yeah, that's it. So go to layout template ID, and then select that ID. So that is the ID for your template. That might not always be present. So another way of doing it is go to this module, select clone, and we'll just drag this down so that this module is going to be run. I've just gone into ChatGPT and asked it what endpoint we need to call in order to get the templates. I'm going to copy and paste that out, and we'll also need to provide the API key and the header name there as well. So I've selected name, and then I'm going to copy and paste in the API key, and I'll press save and run once. I've selected this bubble icon up here, and okay, we have a bunch of email templates, but it's not parse, so it's not easy to see. I'm going to select parse response. then press save and then run once again. Now we'll scroll down and go to data. Now we have a collection, which is what we want. And then this is the newsletter we want. Again, it's the same one as we saw when we looked at the source for that page. So I'll copy out this template ID. I'm going to move this back to the very start again, and we'll forget about this module for the moment. Then within this request, where we're trying to send that actual email content to ConvertKit, we're going to enter that in as the email template ID. So this does not need quotation marks around it because this is a number, it's an integer. Now next up is the content. So we're going to provide the text response from Claude. So that's the previous response there. So go and add in the text response. And now because we added this response pre-filling previously, so it's where you go to Anthropic Claude, if you go down to the very end, you'll see under assistant we have P. It's not going to respond with the first character. So we need to add in whatever text we pre-filled at the start. So add in this pre-filled P tag followed by the text response. We may need to clean the HTML in a separate module, but let's go with this for the moment. For description, we'll just hard code in test, test, test on all of these. And this is going to save the email in draft mode. So I'll press save and then run the automation again. Okay, it's picked up the Google Sheet row. It is going to go to Perplexity. So this is going to call Perplexity's more primitive, cheaper models instead of using deep research. For the moment, has it got a response from, yeah, the text parser has still allowed us to pass that data through, which is good. And now we're calling Claude and we have a bad request error for some reasons. Let's have a look at what our request actually was here. So I'll select this bubble icon up here and go to download input bundles so I can actually see what we passed in. And from here, I think the issue is probably that the response we're getting from Claude has extra characters that's causing issues. So we're going to add in a separate variable for this. It's going to be a set variable node. So go to set variable and then I'm just going to call this clean HTML. Now I've added in this horrible bunch of nested replace statements that we've used quite a lot across our videos. Check out the video description as I'm going to just paste this straight in and you can copy all of that out like so and paste that into your scenario. So once you paste it into your scenario, you'll see like that. So it's pretty cool. What it's doing is these replace statements are cleaning out the response we're getting from Claude and making sure that it does not have any characters that's going to cause problems in the request. So all of these replace statements are here and we're just adding in the text response and this P previous to that, which is the pre-filled text that we entered in earlier. So again, that's just the data from Claude. Everything else is just this extra bunch of replace statements that we need to clean the HTML. So here we go, that's done, and press save. And instead of passing in the Claude response from here, we're going to pass in the clean HTML variable from there. I'll press save. Now I'm going to run this again, press run once. And while this is running, we're currently just setting the email content. Once we have the initial integration up and running here with dummy data, like test data for the subject and description, we'll do another call to Claude in order to get that data to ConvertKit. Okay, so we have a successful response here, which is looking good. So now we're going to go into ConvertKit, go to send and broadcasts. And this is the draft that was just created. Now we could auto-publish these. You can send an extra parameter to ConvertKit. I'm going to go through the entire process of creating the draft first and then show you after that how you would auto-publish. If you have a credible email list of any decent size, you're really going to want to just check the drafts and update it and make improvements to the emails as necessary before sending them. But if you want to auto-publish, then I'll show you how to do that later on. So this is our test email that was just drafted. It's looking pretty good. And this is not using deep research. So this is just using Perplexity's Sonar model, which is behind the scenes doing some quick Google or Bing searches, I think. And it's looking pretty good to start with. At the very end, we have this call to action, which is the ConvertKit product, which is pretty cool. We're doing pretty well here, but we need to provide a subject line, a description, a preview, text, for example. So to do that, we'll do that all in one go, all in one call to Claude. I'll go to Anthropic Claude and then create a prompt. We're going to select Claude 3.7 Sonnet again for that. You can add in however many tokens. I'm going to select 4,000. That's way more than we need. Then under role, we'll select user, add content, type text. For this, we're going to get it to provide the description, the preview text, and the subject for the following email. So we're going to pass in the email that was generated from Claude previously. We're asking it to output your response as a JSON object with the following fields, ensuring you escape any necessary characters. So we have description, a 5-10 word internal label for the newsletter used for internal tracking, the preview text, a short 1 to 2 sentence teaser that appears in inbox previews, and a subject, an attention-grabbing subject line that encourages opening the email. So we have a shortened example of how we want Claude to respond for that, which is the description, preview text and subject. Then at the very end, we have email text. And again, we're using XML tags here, which is an optimal way of prompting Claude. And then we're providing the text response along with, again, the pre-filled start that, which is the P tag. Now, again, there's a good chance that Claude will respond back with, here is your JSON object. So to stop that from happening, we're going to use pre-filling again, go to assistant, and then I've added in the very start of the response. So we wanted to start with this curly bracket JSON. So this is the start of the JSON object we want because we have an example already provided here, and that is the start. So we'll press save. After that, I'm going to add in another module, go to JSON, and then parse JSON because we want to parse the response we're getting from Claude into an object that then we can pass those fields to ConvertKit in the next module. So we're going to select the text response from Claude, but again, make sure to add in what we pre-filled previously because it's not going to respond with this part of the output. So I'll press save, and I'm going to unlink these for the moment, press save, save anyway, and then run the automation again, and then let it go through this process. We're basically just testing to make sure that this second call to Claude is working correctly here. Okay, that has finished processing. Now let's have a look at the response. Okay, that's looking good. We have a description, preview text, and output. Now we're going to save that, press save anyway. We're going to link this back into the main flow again. And now because this is saved, it should appear within the HTTP request. And then we can pass those into the call to ConvertKit, the description, the preview text, which is that, and the subject, which is that, and press save. And now this should be good end to end. So I'm going to change the model back to using deep research. I'll press save again. And finally, before we do an end-to-end test on this, we want to make sure that we're updating the status of this row to newsletter generated, because otherwise it's going to keep processing that again and again, which we really do not want. So go to Google Sheets, update a row. We're going to enter manually, and under spreadsheet ID, go down to the very end and map the spreadsheet ID from the first module. That's a very quick way to reference another spreadsheet that we've already identified within the automation, so we do not need to manually find it again. The same goes for sheet name. Select sheet on the left hand side. For row number, select row from the first module here, and then column range is A to Z, and then status is column C. We want to change this to newsletter generated. So I'm going to copy that in there. Then I'm going to move this back to ready to generate just so it will work in the automation. And within this HTTP request, go down to the very end, make sure you parse the response. On the right hand side, you see this ConvertKit link here. I've just added in this extra URL. If I go to ConvertKit itself, I see even email broadcast is in draft mode. You see it's in the following type of URL format. So we have the campaigns and we have draft after that. And this is the email ID in the middle. So what I've done is go into this field. I just copied and pasted in that URL, but dragged in the ID response from this HTTP module. So just copy and paste that out if you want to do that. It's not specifically required for this automation because you could just not include this. And once it's marked as newsletter generated, just go to ConvertKit and you'll see the email generated. It's pretty handy to have, so I've added it in here. I'll press save. I'm going to select run once, and now this should run with Perplexity Deep Research and go through the entire process end to end. Okay, that's been generated and the Google Sheet has been updated. So let's go to that, and that's looking good. We have a ConvertKit link, which is great. So we'll just click on that, and the status has been updated. So let's go into that campaign draft. And there we go. We have the subject line created. We have a hook at the very start. From there, it's kind of naturally progressing through the email. We have individual sections, headings with list items, and this is all looking pretty good. We have an action plan, and at the end, everything is tied up together within this text. So that's pretty good as a starting point. And from there, again, you can add in these calls to action. You can have a look at our other videos that we have in our description, as well as within our community. Instead of using Perplexity's deep research, you could have custom scraping. You could use RSS feeds. You could have this entire 7+ AI agent publishing team to create a really customized email newsletter as well. There's lots you could do. However, I think this particular automation is great to just get out the door, get something working and up and running as quickly as possible. Finally, if you want to auto-publish the ConvertKit broadcast, then before this main HTTP request, you need to add in this set publish time. All you need to do is go into the request and add this send at field, and then you need to pass in an ISO date to publish. So in this case, I'm going to connect up this flow to the very start just so you can see what I'm doing here. And you have format date now, and then we have the exact date time format that we want. Then from there, we're passing that directly into this send at passing in the date. You can set a post to public or not public. Public within ConvertKit means that it's like a public article within their ecosystem or within your profile. So you can set that to true or false if you want. The send at is when the actual broadcast is going to be sent. So that's what you're going to pass in this publishing date time to. Then we press save from there. And in the Google Sheets row, instead of the previous URL I provided separately, ConvertKit or Kit, I keep calling it ConvertKit because that's what it was called for years. If you go to app.kit.com, this is the URL format it expects if the broadcast has already been published. So when you're passing in the URL to Google Sheets, it should be in this format currently, but that could change. So go to ConvertKit, have a look at the URL box at the very top, and then copy and paste in the format that it needs. Within our community, we have the blueprints you can access right away and learn how to customize them to your needs. And for the automation we just went through, we have a make.com version as well as an n8n version, so you can use whatever platform you want.